Alright YouTube, so yesterday, April 29th, 2018 was the 10-year anniversary for Grand Theft Auto 4, one of my favorite games ever, and my absolute favorite game in the GTA series. So I just kind of want to talk about it. You could call it a review. I just kind of want to reminisce back on this game. Now, before we hop into it, we are on the road to 10,000 subscribers, trying to get that community tab on the channel, but the short-term goal, of course, is 8,000, so if you guys are new, please subscribe. Grand Theft Auto 4 holds a special place in my heart. It was actually the very first game I ever got with my 360. I don't remember what exact year I got my 360. It could have been, 2008, 2009, something like that. But it was the very first game I ever got when I got my very first Xbox 360. And I think that's part of why it might hold a special place in my heart, because it's like the only game I had for a while. If I could somehow look back on the total time played in every game that I've ever played, I'd probably put the most time into this game. I got to a point where I would, for one, whenever I played this game originally, I never had the DLC, didn't have like internet at the time, things like that, or the add-ons, whatever you want to call them. So I was just playing the base game forever, but I got to the point where I beat the story, and I just played all the time. I would just roam the world. I know everything. I know the exact layout of this game more than probably any other Grand Theft Auto game. I would still play this game pretty religiously up until around like 2011 to 2013. I don't remember exactly when I stopped playing the game, but I had the DLC at that time, or the add-ons. I had Baldigate Tony and The Lost and the Damned, which I played a lot of too, but I was still very fond of the base game. I did like Baldigate Tony just because of all the weapons and like new vehicles and stuff that it added. It added a lot of good content. Lost and the Damned was okay. I'm not hating on it. There's still two great add-ons for the GTA 4. Just didn't care too much for the biker setting. It wasn't bad or anything, don't get me wrong. I still liked it. I still played the hell out of it. I played through, the base game, both the add-ons several times. But it's just, I wasn't the biggest fan of it, I guess. But I mean, you can ask any real Grand Theft Auto fan or somebody who's played, Grand Theft Auto 4 and all of its add-ons, and they'll tell you that the Baldigate Tony is the better add-on. And some people even like the Baldigate Tony more than the base game. I can't necessarily say that I agree with that, though Luis Lopez was a good protagonist, and the Baldigate Tony did add a bunch of badass weapons and cars. Now, I've argued for years now that this is the best Grand Theft Auto game, and that's obviously kind of controversial, just given how popular Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is. And of course, technically speaking, GTA 5 is the best Grand Theft Auto just because the technology is a lot better. They offer a lot more, the world is bigger, things like that. But I still believe that GTA 4 is the better of all of them. Throughout the years, GTA 4 has gotten a lot of shit for its like darker, grittier setting and story, and like even visually speaking, the game's a lot grittier. It's like a lot darker, gray colors, things like that. But I legitimately believe that's one of the things that helps it stand out from the series is the fact that it is a more serious story. It still has that GTA humor. You'll still walk by pedestrians and hear them say funny things like cheesy vaginas. It's always my favorite quote from one of the pedestrians in GTA 4. But it still has a very dark story, given our protagonist Nico Bellic's dark history in the Russian military. Nico comes to Liberty City because his cousin Roman Bellic promises him the American dream, but he's also in pursuit of the men who betrayed his military unit 15 years ago. In standard GTA fashion, you start from the bottom and rise to the top. His cousin Roman is far from living the American dream. He does own his own taxi company, but he's still slumming it up in a shitty apartment. The story unfolds from there, and of course, by the end of the game, you take over the city, essentially. You become like the big bad guy in the city. You kind of rule the city, whatever the case. Kind of like you do in every Grand Theft Auto game. So in that regard, it is still very similar to previous Grand Theft Auto games, but this was the first time we stepped into the HD universe. This is where we actually first got our Grand Theft Auto game that had good graphics, which graphics aren't the biggest thing ever, but it is nice. And really quickly, if you don't know what I actually mean by HD universe, the Grand Theft Auto games are split into different universes. There's the old school, like top-down, kind of isometric games. There's the 3D universe, which is, Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City San Andreas, and Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories. And then there's the HD universe, which is Grand Theft Auto 4, its add-ons, Baldigate Tony, Lost and the Damned, and of course Grand Theft Auto 5. HD universe doesn't actually necessarily mean like HD quality graphics. There's different universes that are technically canon with each other. But back on track, Grand Theft Auto 4 was also great in my opinion because it added a lot of firsts to the series. Naturally, of course, the main thing is it actually had an online multiplayer. We had somewhat of a multiplayer thing before with Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. You had the ability to play like two-player locally. You had to go to certain locations around the map. There would be these like little like red icons. And if you had a second controller, you could play two-player, but you couldn't go beyond the actual screen. The multiplayer was so goddamn fun with this game. I had so much fun playing it. It was everything I ever wanted. Whenever I learned that Grand Theft Auto 4 was going to have a multiplayer, it's all what I always wanted for the game. I always thought it would be a cool concept. Drop a bunch of people into a big-ass sandbox city and just run around killing each other and do whatever the hell you want. That's pretty much what you're allowed to do. Now, obviously, GTA Online with Grand Theft Auto 5 is a bit better in a lot of ways, but the simplicity of GTA 4's Online is what I liked about it. GTA 5's online multiplayer stuff is just kind of overwhelming these days. It's been going on for like 5 years now. There's just almost too much to do. Some other first for the series was the realistic combat and like cars, like wrecking and things like that. With the combat, you had the ability to duck behind walls and like low cover and things like that, and shoot over the wall. You had, when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, you could actually block and counter and disarm people with melee weapons. It was really badass, something that the series didn't have before. On top of that, you had the ability to like knock people out in one punch. Just there's no way to actually like set it up. It was just random. You could walk up to somebody, and you might knock them out in the first punch. It was just a really cool little thing that they did with the hand-to-hand combat. In terms of the realistic things with the vehicles, you had the ability to like lose tires on cars. No matter what direction your car got hit, it could dent, and like it could affect the driving. If like the front right side of your car got dented, then your car would, could potentially start pulling to the right and things like that. Your car would lean to the right. You can see the damage on this car, for example. And you had the ability to, I remember the very first time when I was trying to go from one city to the other. You know how like the older like GTA games, like different parts of the city are locked off. Well, I was going to try to drive to like maybe the second island or something like that, and they have the road blocked, and I smashed into it. And I remember for the very first time seeing Nico fly out the windshield, and that shit blew my goddamn mind when it happened. I remember for the longest time after that, I would just drive as fast as I could in all different kinds of vehicles and wreck into shit just to throw Nico out the windshield because I thought it was cool. And on top of that, the kind of continuation of that was the ragdoll effects of this game. I remember when I first learned that you could shoot a gas pump at a gas station in game, and it would blow up, and I used to do it all the time just to watch Nico fly, because the ragdoll effects in this game were fantastic. Some other first for the series was the fact that we had an interactive phone for the first time. We've had cell phones and things like that in the past, like beepers and things, but we actually had a cell phone that we could pull up and dial numbers ourselves. We could call 911, and if you did that, like a cop would actually show up to your location, wherever you were in game. That shit was blowing my mind when it first happened. We also had the ability, you had like a contacts list, so like anybody you met and got their number in game, you could then call them at any time for whatever it might be, which kind of improved on the girlfriend feature from San Andreas, but you also had the ability to hang out with friends, like people you meet in game that are contacts. You could hang out with them, y'all could go eat, y'all could go play games, darts, bowling, whatever the case, go to like a comedy club, see some stand-up comedy. Like, it was really badass what you could do with the phone in the game for the first time. On top of this was the first Grand Theft Auto where we had internet access in-game. Like, Rockstar actually went out and made their own, like, internet in-game, and you could go in there and like look around on websites and things like that. You actually had to go to internet cafes to do this, or have like a laptop or something in one of your safe houses. But there was just all kinds of random shit you could look at. It was always fun. I got lost in the internet on this game several times. Like their own like GTA version of like a Craigslist. There's dating websites, and I didn't know for the longest time you could actually get girlfriends in this game outside of the one you find in the main story. You could actually go on a dating website, and you could actually request to like go on a date with like some of the chicks that are on the website, and you could actually start dating them in game. They'd have perks and things. If you dated them long enough, got their affection high enough, they'd have bonuses and things. This was also the Rockstar game that kind of introduced the Strangers and Freaks type of mission thing, where you find random NPCs around the map that give you missions. We've since seen this implemented in Red Dead Redemption and, of course, Grand Theft Auto 5, but this was the first time it ever happened, and it made the city feel more alive, because before, NPCs were just NPCs. There's just random people walking around the map. But the Strangers and Freaks mission made the world seem more immersive and alive, because you actually have NPCs that have shit going on. They actually have missions and things for you to do, and you help them out, and sometimes you see them multiple times. One small quick first for the series that people mention whenever they're comparing the GTA games is the fact that this was the first and only Grand Theft Auto game that allowed you to pick up items off the ground and use them as weapons and throw them at people. Now, I can only think of one mission near the early stages of the game where one of the people you're doing missions for has you throw like a brick through like a laundromat window or something like that. I can't think of any other mission that there was in the main story or anything like that where you had to actually use the throwing. But it was just a very fun feature to have, where you could find like random bricks on the ground, or if you like bought a soda from like a vending machine, you could pick up the can off the ground and throw it at somebody. Like, it was just fun, nothing major. And the last thing that they added to the series that I can at least think of right now was the ability to actually have choices. You could choose who lives and dies in certain parts of the game. Now, not every choice in-game is earth-shattering and impacts the entire world, but sometimes if you let certain people live during certain missions, they become Strangers and Freaks missions, which is kind of cool. But then you do have very impactful choices, like whether or not you want to kill Playboy or Dwayne. You kill Dwayne, Playboy gives you a bunch of money but never wants to speak to you again. If instead you kill Playboy, you actually get his badass apartment and an exclusive outfit. You also have a choice near the end of the game that, depending on what you do, your girlfriend will die, or if you choose the other option, your cousin will die, which is one of the main characters of the game. It's pretty crazy. And potentially the most interesting choice that you get in the main story was the ability to kill the guy you've been hunting down all game, the guy that betrayed your unit 15 years ago. Now, killing him doesn't really change a whole lot, but it's just like a moral thing. Do you want to kill him? Will you feel better if you kill this guy you've been hunting throughout the entire game? This was something that didn't really carry over into GTA 5. The only choice that I can really think of with GTA 5 was the very end when you're playing as Franklin, and you can choose to either kill Trevor, kill Michael, or kill neither of them. And that was the only choice I can really think of with that game. But even outside of just adding first to the series, I think the game as a whole was very, very good. The story was well written, the voice acting was great. I think Liberty City as a whole is better than at least the Los Santos part of GTA 5. You know, in the past, I played through most of the GTA games multiple times and never really got bored of them, but something about Grand Theft Auto 5 just didn't hold up that well for me. There's nothing really wrong with the game. It's pretty fun, and GTA Online is spectacular. At least it was in the early days, but something about the map of GTA 5 just got boring so fast. Anyways, my dudes, I just kind of want to talk about this game since we just hit the 10-year anniversary. I obviously wasn't doing YouTube really back in 2008 when this game came out. Don't think I've ever really made a GTA 4 video on this channel. Fun fact, really quick, a little bit of Dashing David trivia for you guys. I did actually start a YouTube channel because of this game very long time ago, like maybe 2009, 10, 2011, somewhere around there. But I remember I uploaded just a couple of videos, and I recorded my TV screen with my iPhone 3GS back at the time. It was a horrible shit fucking quality. If I could ever find the YouTube channel, I would love to link it below for you guys, but I just don't even remember what the YouTube channel was called. Grand Theft Auto 4, in my opinion, is the best all-around Grand Theft Auto game that Rockstar has ever released. I think everything about it, the world, the exploration, the story, the voice acting, just everything you can do in-game is great. If by some chance you have never actually played this game, I highly recommend that you do. I don't know why you would never have played GTA 4. It is a fantastic game, and I'm still holding out to this day that Rockstar will eventually, sometime down the road, make a remaster. Anyways, I hope you guys, girls, and transgenders enjoyed the video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, turn on notifications, follow me on Twitter at TheDashingDavid. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Give me forever for a while, give me forever for a while, quit acting like a baby, or at least less like a child, give me serenity, or at least just peace of mind, give me clarity.